everyone, welcome to rainphotorsclub.com. So today we're going to be talking about hard light, what that is and how it can make or break your photos. So stay tuned, we will be getting into that straight after this. So for those of you who don't know, Rain Photos Club offers free photography tutorials to anyone, normally beginner photographers who really want to learn how to improve their photography no matter what camera you have. So hit the subscribe button below to get notified of new tutorials and new content that we have on a regular basis. Otherwise, we're going to get back into our lesson for today. So as I said, this is all about hard light, and to kind of demonstrate this, I'm going to go into the slides that we have available to show you what this is all about. So first of all, what is hard light? So hard light is any kind of light that creates a shadow in your photos or gives you high contrast, so very dark and very light areas in your photo. It basically is made from hard light. And this can really make or break your photos depending on how you use it. So you need to know how to use it, and I'm going to give you some examples of this now. So this is a good example of how harsh light can actually break your photos, because in this particular instance we would probably want to see the cat's face, but there's this really hard shadow that's going across the face. It's a very obvious example, but it kind of does demonstrate what happens a lot of the time. So you need to be very aware of where shadows are in your photo and how to use them better. But I think it's better to start where you know that it's not going to work, and that's obviously if you basically people start to, when they look at a photo, they normally look at an area of light before they look at an area of dark. So you want the light to hit your subject where you want them to actually look. So I did do another photo here with another cat, and this time I have the light hitting her eye. So I've consciously made the decision to make sure that I can't see her eye in the photo, and you tend to be drawn to her because that's where the light is. Now it's still not an ideal photo because there's a lot going on in this photo. There's a lot at the top here, and there's still a lot of other light, but it is definitely a stronger image than the image on the left. So this is starting to look better already. But yeah, so there's lots of different examples, but we'll get more into that now. Particularly with portraits, I'm gonna give you a short video now on how light can really break, or hard light can really break your portrait photo. So to demonstrate to you what I mean by hard light, I have decided to do this. I hate being in front of the camera, but this is to give you an idea. So I think this is the best way to demonstrate it. So from here you can see that half my face is in shadow, and I kind of have these really unflattering shadows and highlights on my face. This is in the middle of the day, so we're taking this at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And yeah, so you can see there's shadows under my eyes, you can't really get any detail, then there's funny harsh shadows on my face, and then as I move into the light, now I'm really squinting because I'm facing the light completely, and that sun is quite bright, so I end up wrinkling and squinting and not looking at the photo properly, and yeah, it's just very unflattering. There's very bad highlights on the face. As you move around, the best option in the middle of the day is probably to take with the sun behind you like this, but yeah, either way it's not the best option for photos. Excuse the cat. Yeah, so you just want to try and avoid this if you're trying to do portrait photos, and if you're going to use harsh light, then use it properly. Also, when you're facing away from the sun like this, you can end up with with basically like a silhouette. So you won't have any detail in your photo, it'll just be black. It depends on how intense that light is behind you, but yeah, so this is not great. So yeah, this is just to demonstrate what it's like, but yeah, hopefully this gives you a better idea. So that doesn't mean you can't use hard light in portraits. So for instance here I've used hard light in a boxing profile, and it adds drama to the photos and enhances the photos rather than takes away from them. So it adds a little bit of intensity in his eyes, or where he's hitting the punching bag. And it creates a certain mood and a certain feel with the photos. So in this instance, I've just used the light properly and used it, I've made sure that the light hits where I want it to hit rather than any way that it would take away from the photo. It's not the only instance, so for instance you can use it here as well. So this is just taken later in the day, it's not taken at midday, it's taken about 4 o'clock, but it's still hard light and it hits her face nicely, so it highlights her face and her clothing and brings her out from the background rather than taking away from the photo. So it's just, like I say, you just need to be conscious of how you are using the light, and if you're going to use hard light, then make sure that you're highlighting your subject where you want your viewer to actually be looking. So here are some examples of how hard light can be used. It doesn't necessarily have to be for portraits. So this is for instance, this is in Bo-Kaap in Cape Town, which is known for these colorful houses and buildings. So here I've used full frontal hard light to be able to underexpose my photo and really bring out the colors in the houses and in the sky. So it's taken about 9 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, the light is hard on the front, and that means I can make my photo a little bit darker and really bring out the colors in this instance. Another good example is with an animal portrait like this. So I have the light hitting the horse's face, but also the main or the most important thing I wanted is to have this catchlight in the horse's eyes. So with portraits, it's a really good practice to always try and have that little catchlight in the eyes. It really helps to bring the photo alive and to animate it. In this instance, I've used shadows to kind of add depth to the photo. So the shadows coming off the pigs, it just adds an interesting element and makes it a more interesting photo than if you were just taking photos of the pigs alone. So you can play around with shadows and see how they can add interesting elements to your photos. And elephants are probably one of my favorite things to photograph. So this is side light and he's kind of moving into the light. But I love photographing them because of all their little wrinkles, and it's specifically with hard light like this, it really brings out those wrinkles and makes them stand out even more. So these are basically examples of hard light and how you can use it. I hope that you can use them for inspiration and go and take your own hard light photos, and you now know basically how to use it and how to be conscious of where you're using the light. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. Please do subscribe at the bottom here to have access to free tutorials. We do post free tutorials quite often. But otherwise, happy photo making, and I'll see you in the next lesson.